Yesterday, at the bi-weekly meeting of my small group of aspiring writers, we gave ourselves an assignment to be presented at the next meeting, the simple exercise of writing a 1-minute stream of consciousness. So today I sit down for the task. I understand the idea of stream of consciousness, I think. It is a raw output from a person's brain flowing straight through the pen onto a piece of paper. It implies unedited, unpolished thought in its own element, like a half-done steak sizzling in its own sauce. Picking up my pen, at first nothing comes out, and the temporary brain vacuum prompts my thought that such an act of streaming might well be a good thing to do for aspiring writers, with myself as proof of concept, sitting there aimlessly, chewing the end of a pencil, a fine demonstration of the need for such an exercise. We can assume that there are many unwritten books, articles, and surprising insights bubbling in the heads of many, but too often these are pushed aside, put on the mental back burner in the interest of dealing with other needs of daily life. The first act in the exercise of presenting one's more or less compelling prose or poetry to the world is making raw thoughts come out from a cacophonous jumble of imagined scenarios before polishing its written form so it is comprehensible to others. That is, unless you happen to be one of these most fortunate people who are able to walk the street busily talking aloud to no one in particular without a trace of embarrassment. My upbringing prevents me from doing that. The story is, however, quite different when nobody else is in the home and listening. I do have a built-in hesitation to say unkind things to people who do not deserve them. But my computer is not so lucky. When it is just the two of us and the keyboard makes one of its frequent mistakes, especially those that I have scolded it for on a dozen occasions previously, I will indeed unleash a stream of my very annoyed consciousness at it. My pencil gets it mostly right on the first try, admirably executing the flow of thought from my brain through the hand into flawless words on paper. Why can the computer keyboard not do the same thing without inserting extra letters, reversing or missing others? But even the pencil sometimes gets in my way, maliciously breaking off at the tip just when competing ideas flow most eagerly, 3 of them at once trying to squeeze out side by side, and I can just barely write them down fast enough for fear of forgetting half. And why is that? 5 minutes later I sit there again at a loss of words. On the other hand, I do worry about slinging angry adjectives at writing implements, even more so at my helpful but hapless computer, because as I am cursing it, I seem to be slipping into an ever more symbiotic dependency on it, not as a love object or a being, but as an ever-patient receptacle for my unsanitized thoughts, knowing how this device brings back the stuff I typed weeks ago when I myself can't recall what I had been writing about. But here is a problem with the thoughts consigned to a piece of paper or the computer's copious memory. An aspiring author and poet, or really anyone writing, regardless of one's self-description, feels an urge to keep the first stage hidden from other eyes. The writer's stream of consciousness shows his or her wealth of imagination, but also reveals one's inconsistencies, inadequacies, and shortcomings. Imagination is a trait of a writer. Revealing unedited thoughts is not, and seems to detract from the glow that comes from presenting a piece of work that is close to perfection, or at least close to satisfaction. So there is an incentive to hide the shortcomings this first output gives away. However, putting raw thoughts onto a piece of paper or computer screen so often gives rise to a train of unplanned extensions, unexpected insights, and one can never predict what will come about. On the balance of things, there is no joy in avoiding that first step when imagination turns into written output. Knowing that stories fade away sadly untold. Every well-written story, every poem or novel insight had its start as a disjointed, disorderly stream of consciousness, and went from preliminary to completion by first of all getting captured on a keyboard or with a pen. We might as well enjoy the pleasure of creation, of watching it tumble out, and long afterwards of looking at something that did not exist before, and to hell with perfection.